Welcome to Cedar Club, Quincy's favorite local bar. A friendly corner bar with a laid-back atmosphere and affordable drinks. It's the perfect spot for a great time. With entertainment galore, including shuffleboard, golden tee, pool, foosball, and winning gaming machines. Cedar Club's latest edition is the best spot to catch your favorite game. Great drinks, great friends, and great times. Cedar Club, 20th and Cedar in Quincy. Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Muddy. I'm Ashley Conrad. Joining me today, Professor Brian Nolan with Quincy University. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy you're here. So you are a professor of psychology. You have your PhD, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me start by saying psychology is my favorite course. I'm also a QU alum, so we have quite a bit in common, right? The one thing I have not done, and I don't foresee myself doing, is authoring a book. You have done this.
Yes.
Okay, so congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Give me the title.
It's called the Misinformation Maze. So learn to decode the lies and navigate the digital age effectively.
Yes, which is, we were talking before we got rolling, is very relevant in these days. I kind of equated it to social media, but you brought up good points about, you know, it kind of affects everywhere we look, right? So walk me through kind of what inspired you to write this book, kind of what it's about. We don't want to give away all the meat and potatoes because it is for sale.
Yes.
But I do kind of want to know what inspired you and what's kind of the vision behind the book.
Right. Well, I guess going back several years now, I've actually had half a dozen different ideas for different books I could write. I've been kind of toying with the idea of writing a book for a while.
Okay.
And so I have kind of all these kind of half-finished projects kind of sitting out there. And I'm like, you know what, at some point I need to take one of these across the finish line.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so which one feels like, the right one to emphasize first? And I said, well, this idea of talking about misinformation and understanding things about cognitive biases and why we fall for these things and why we find them so tempting to, the clickbait that's out there on different websites. So, that feels very kind of timely and relevant. So I kind of decided, last summer, like I'm going to, full force into this.
Yeah.
So,
So it was on then.
Yep.
Yeah. So then you already had some ideas that were kind of baked out. And we don't have to go too deep into the process, but was there one specific thing that you were like, all right, this is the topic. This is why we're moving forward with it. Or was it just kind of the relevance of, I don't want to say fake news, but that is part of it,
yeah,
right?
That is part of it, yes.
Yeah. Which Muddy River News is not, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, we want to make sure we clarify that, but it's everywhere.
Right,
Yeah.
it is. I don't know that there's necessarily one specific thing or one moment, but certainly things that, as I was, putting this together, of course, there's a presidential election thing going on. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of stuff going around out there.
That little thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's and so I was thinking, how do you sift through all this? And, I felt like, I'm in a position where I'd be able to communicate to people how to do this more effectively. And I'm sure there's some people who are well-versed in this stuff, but there's a lot of other people that aren't.
Right.
So I said, hey, can I provide them some sort of guide to kind of get rolling and get better at identifying things, protecting yourself, as it were, weeding your way through everything that's out there. And so that's kind of what I provide, some background information about why we like it, history of manipulation of information. And then kind of say, like, how do you talk to friends and family about it? How do you, build a, other community of people who are, of the same mindset of trying to, find the truth, as it were.
Right. Uncovering the truth, which I say it all the time. It seems like it's impossible to find anything truthful, especially when you're looking online, because, we used to have libraries and even, I don't want to say that the hard printed books means that it's all true, but how do you even learn where to go for that and how to decipher and critical think? And I'm assuming these are all kind of topics in your book.
Right. I think one of the important tools is developing your own critical thinking skills and kind of recognizing things like the repetition of information. You say, politicians do this all the time. They repeat it over and over and over again. Even if it's not really true, you hear it enough and it starts to feel more true because it's been repeated so many times. And just being aware to recognize, hey, wait a minute, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
And so you kind of start to
Take
recognize when there's something seems a little off, and the more you can recognize when those little clues to say, hey, this doesn't sound quite right.
Right.
But yeah, sometimes figuring out what is the actual for sure truth is tricky sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. And then when you're reading into these things, it's hard not to become kind of cynical right? Because you're like, well, is there anything that's true? Because I know, my next guest, I mean, he's kind of the king of helping us avoid scams and misinformation and urgency, right? So what are some of the I guess maybe if you can just touch on a couple of, I don't want to give it away, but what are some things that people can do just on, like a very entry-level basis to kind of avoid some of this stuff?
Well, I think one of the things on social media like Facebook or something, that these things are built on certain algorithms. If you click like on something, it's going to try to show you more stuff like that. And so if you have, say, a particular political slant, whichever direction, and you like some other feed or whatever about that topic or that viewpoint, you realize it's going to try to send you more and more information that's like that.
Right.
And so you're kind of feeding yourself a biased stream of information because of things that you clicked on you like in the past.
Yeah.
So one thing is kind of go back through your social media, say, hey, what things have I liked, and can I control better what I'm feeding myself?
Sure. And avoiding like an echo chamber type thing, right?
That can happen very easily.
Yeah. It's interesting on social media. I could sit here and talk about this all day with you, but I'm going to have to read your book. I think it's really interesting that you took the time to put all of this out there. And of course, you have a PhD in psychology. So this stuff has got to be very fascinating to you and how the mind works and how we're often tricked and how we often trick ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? So what are, I guess, we're talking news. Okay, so let's talk news. We know that those echo chambers kind of exist there too when you're, whether you're a Fox or a CNN or an MSNBC, right? So all of these things are out there. Do you think we perpetuate our own agenda with some of this stuff?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I think look at the different news outlets that you can look into it and see that different news outlets do have certain political leanings one way or the other. And again, kind of being aware of hey, you listen to this news outlet and you say, well, I know they have a more conservative slant. I know this other news outlet, they have a more liberal sort of slant. And so be aware of that when you're hearing what they're saying. Okay, they're coming at this from a particular perspective, and to the extent I'm able to, I like to try to find ones that are more in the middle, and in my opinion, a little more trustworthy, as it were.
Sure.
And so,
but
even then, there's always, I mean, there's always things that kind of creep in of, people have their own biases and whatnot, and their own preferences, their own beliefs about things. They're kind of influence, even the journalists doing these things, they have their own biases and things they're going to lean towards or slant towards or whatever. And so we just kind of recognize that it's there. That's just one of the important things. Step one, recognize it is there.
Right. Identifying it. Yeah. And it's not just political. That's, of course, one of the easier topics to kind of get in your own echo chamber, gauging using your own bias to find your own truths, right? But it happens everywhere. I mean, it's socioeconomical. I mean, it's everything, right? What do you cover in your book as far as, do different personalities play a role in, does that make any sense? Like how far you go,
I guess
how easy it is to be tricked, I guess, based on upbringing, based on outside influences.
Yeah, I don't necessarily get into personality individuals. I kind of keep it more general in terms of that.
Okay.
But I do kind of point out that, examine your own beliefs, because what you believe is already true, and you hear somebody else say something that's in line with that, you buy right into it very easily, even if it's not quite true. That's called confirmation bias. You kind of think that way already anyway, and you like it with somebody, hey, yeah, I'm right. It confirms you're right. It feels good, right?
Yes.
And sometimes, that's your own, biased viewpoint. And you don't realize how much that's how you're then creating that echo chamber. You're getting things that saying the same thing back at you, and trying to and say, I like to try to intentionally pay attention to things that are contrasting what I think.
Sure.
I'll give you an example. There's a collection of friends on social media. Some of them are people that I knew back in high school, whatever. I have a collection of people out there. And there's some of them I realized, wow, their political viewpoints are very different than mine.
Yeah.
And instead of getting rid of them, I'll leave it there. I'm not going to engage them in some deep debate about whatever, but I'm like, okay, I know that person. I know a person who thinks that, who's very different from what I think.
Sure.
It's to remind myself that it's out there.
Right. And I think ultimately trying to, see the other side, and know that just because they don't believe the same things as you can still be civil. You can still be friends, right?
Yes.
On social media and off.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I'm hoping we as a society can get a little bit better at. And,
Yeah.
you know what, have a communication, say, hey, we can have a difference of opinion, doesn't mean we have to hate each other.
Right.
You know, and sometimes these arguments can get so intense and fired up and emotional. And actually, that's one of the things in one of the chapters here where they talk about communicating with family and friends that, you know, hey, that, you know, just going out and attacking somebody, hey, you're stupid, you know, you're not going to get very far with
Right.
that, right? And so, you know, try to be, you know, try to understand where the other person's coming from.
Sure.
You know, try to have that, you know, recognize, hey, I understand that you're angry, upset, fearful about this, that, or whatever, and you know, so then say, well, you know, to just give your take on it as well, and there's ways to do this in a more civil, friendly sort of way,
Right.
rather than attacking the other person.
Right, absolutely. And one of the first steps is to be able to identify that misinformation is out there, and maybe we all have fallen victim to some of it. I have no doubt that we all have, right?
Yeah, I
And-
think to some extent, yeah,
Yes.
but it happens. You know, we're all human. It happens.
Yep. And the confirmation bias is something that I think through, especially like COVID in recent years, that we really thrive on, you know, creating our own confirmation bias because everybody wants to be right. It's not always the right thing, but everybody wants to be right.
Yeah.
Well, I am really excited to read this book. Okay, so The Misinformation Maze, Learn to Decode the Lies and Navigate the Digital Age Effectively by Professor Brian Nolan. Where can they get this book?
It's available on Amazon.
Okay.
So if you just Google the title and my name, it comes up on there. So it's available. Like I said, it's a you can order the print version or it's the ebook format.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations on authoring your first book. I have no doubt that you have more to come, and I'd love to talk to you about more of them. Can't wait to read this. I suggest you go get it. Misinformation Maze by Professor Brian Nolan. Thank you so much. Good luck. I hope your sales skyrocket after this.
Well, thank you.
Right?
Appreciate
And
that.
hopefully everybody reads and kind of opens their eyes to, some of what's out there, and it's sure to continue and sure to increase as we go, right? Everybody
Yeah.
has something that they're pushing. Everybody wants to have the right information, but we need to make sure we're identifying what's true and what's not, right?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. Absolutely a pleasure. All right, coming up next, Don O'Brien and I sit down to talk about student loan repayment scams. Stay tuned.
Welcome out to Kelly's on Broadway tonight. We're drinking cold beer and it feels so right. I'll meet you out on Broadway underneath Shamrock Light. We're gonna have a good time on the patio tonight. There's a party down at Kelly's on Broadway tonight. We're drinking cold beer on a champagne night. We're feeling all alone and you got no place to go. So come down here and drink a beer on Kelly's patio. Kelly's a fun place to eat and drink. 2902 Broadway.
The Tower, a great place to meet and eat. But did you know the Tower has one of the finest drink selections in our area? Along with its incredible Mexican menu, the Tower specializes in tequilas for every taste. Names like Patron, Cabo Wabo, and Hornitos. And don't forget the margaritas. On Mondays and Tuesdays, stop by and pick up a single topping pizza and get Tower margaritas to go. Enjoy the Tower at home or in our dining room, bar area, or the Tower's signature climate-controlled porch. The Tower Pizza and Mexican in Quincy.
Welcome to the Abbey, a Quincy tradition. With 6 big screens, a new larger kitchen, and now more seating capacity, the Abbey is the place to be before, during, and after the big game. Come enjoy fan favorite appetizers, steaks, burgers, and a variety of daily food and drink specials. Can't join us? Carryout is available too. Now with a convenient drive-up window to better serve you. 1736 Spring in Quincy. Opens at 3 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Come join all your friends at the Abbey, a Quincy tradition.
Instant Replay is your local sports bar. With 18 big screen TVs, we have all the sports packages from college games to pro games. We offer daily drink specials, and come check out the Bullpen, our newly renovated beer garden. Instant Replay, 2739 Chestnut in Quincy.
Are you looking for the perfect venue for your next special event? Check out Utopia Event Center. Utopia has a large banquet room and an awesome bar area, perfect for anything from birthday parties to formal corporate meetings. It also offers a photo booth, stage for a DJ or a live band, and a fully stocked bar, all for only $300. Check us out at utopiaeventcenter.com or call Barn at 217-430-6559 for more information. Utopia Event Center, 900 North 12th Street in Quincy.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
And welcome back. Join me now, my pal Don O'Brien with the BBB. How are you, DOB?
I'm good.
Good. So this is all news to me, which I guess I shouldn't be too embarrassed because it's pretty fresh news.
It's fresh.
For everybody.
It's just on Monday.
Okay, and that is what?
Okay, so on May 5th, Monday, the federal government resumed collection of defaulted federal student loan payments.
Dun, dun, dun.
After 5.5 years or so of people not having to pay any of their student loans, government saying, guess what? You got to pay us now.
It's time.
So, what we usually see at BBB, and we have yet to have anything reported to us because it's so fresh, but eventually we'll have someone who will contact us and saying, hey, this company said they were going to help me reduce my student loans or get me out of this for free or something along those lines. So we see the scammers go toward where the news is. And this is something that's fresh and new that not a lot of people are aware of.
Definitely
of course,
trending.
You don't have any student loans that you need to pay.
Thank God.
We have our friend Shane here who
Shaney
does
Waney.
have student loans. And he says, yep, I got to start paying again now.
Don't fall for the debt relief scams, Shaney.
Yes. It's
that
not
would be insult to injury.
Correct.
Oh my gosh. What a
correct.
nightmare that
So
would
a good rule of thumb is to be wary of anyone who makes big promises to reduce or eliminate your federal student loan debt for a fee.
Yeah.
If they come to you and say, hey, you owe $30,000, give me $2,000 and we can take care of that for you.
Yes.
Bogus.
Bogus. If only that were life were that easy.
If it was that easy.
Yeah.
So again, this is something that's new. There's a lot of, I'm the loan person in our Quincy BBB office. There's been a lot of chatter in our St. Louis BBB office about, from especially some of the younger folks that work there who still have student loans. They're worried about, well, gosh, what does this mean for me? What am I going to have to do? And let me check our numbers in our release that we just came out with on Wednesday. There are 4 million people that may be at risk of default in the coming months, and there are 5 million borrowers who are currently in default. So that's 9 million people out there. So it's a pretty good bet that people who are in our viewing area and watching us right now may be affected by this.
Yeah, hopefully they don't
And
fall
what it
victim.
does is that can affect your credit. It can really damage you if you don't take care of that. So we want to make sure that when you do attack those student loans, you attack them correctly and don't fall victim to anyone out there saying, hey, give me a little scratch and I can take care of that for you.
Right. Especially if they're asking for gift cards.
Anything like that,
Right? Or
yeah.
if they're like, come over here on WhatsApp and we'll take care of it, right?
Yes.
All these, and there are so many different ways that they're going to try that. And again, we don't want to be cynical, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is just kind of getting ahead of it a little bit,
Yep.
being a little proactive to understand what could be coming your way. Obviously, there are going to be a lot of text message, right? Phishing, smishing.
Well, you might be seeing on stuff on social media.
Yeah.
Again, your name might your name might be on a lead list somewhere where there's a list of people who have borrowed money from some company. So they may reach out to you and say, guess what? We know that you have these student loans that are out there. Let us help you by trying to work those down and make it some more.
So how do people avoid? What do they do ahead of the game to make sure that they're not falling?
Well, the first thing is don't pay for anything.
Yeah.
Your money is probably tight right now. As everybody's money, you want to make sure the money you do target to those loans goes to those loans and not somebody else. You shouldn't have to pay a third party to help you do those types of things. Those big promises, too good to be true. It probably is. If somebody claims they can erase a student loan debt in minutes, they're lying.
Yeah.
Because that's nothing that can be untangled that quickly. Really protect your personal information. We talk about maybe losing money here, but just as important sometimes is losing your information.
Sure.
So somebody may want to try to get your, they may have to ask you to fill out an application and give out your Social Security number, your banking information, those types of things. So, just really, if you are in this spot, if you're one of the millions of people that's affected, do your research. And unfortunately, there's no easy way to get out of this.
So, but most people that had student loans, and this is just for my curiosity. So let's say Shane had a student loan with Freddie Mac or whatever,
Yes.
whatever. Will those loans remain with that company
Well, there may or
primarily?
may not. Yeah, that's
Okay.
something I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
So you may think, okay, well, why don't I refinance this? That might be an option for you.
Okay.
But you really need to know the facts before you do any kind of refinancing. You may lose out on one-time debt relief and flexible repayment plans for federal loans. So there's more flexibility, I think, in those federal loans than there might be some kind if you privatize it and try to restructure.
Well, I know with my student loan, I took it out with one company, it got sold, but I always knew who it was with, and I had a login, and I had, there was personal information. It showed my schooling, it showed my loans, showed everything. So if you have that information and you log in, via the reputable website, or you call the reputable phone number that's associated with the company that you originally took the loan out, they can probably give you information on where the loan stands if you don't know. Right?
You're exactly right.
Okay.
And you make a good point there in that, you may get some type of email or text message or some other, probably not snail mail, but you never know how they're going to use it. But they may act like they're Fannie Mae.
Yeah.
And they may give you a phone number in there to call them.
Or that they bought your loan.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that may or may not be true. So you need, again, reach out to those official numbers, not just some other number that's email that's attached to some text message you receive.
Right.
Because again, they're going to try to reroute you to them. So it can be, it's a very stressful time, I know, for those folks who now have to, again, start repaying on those loans. But the last thing we want you to have happen to you is that not only do you have this loan you need to pay, but we don't want you to lose extra money on top of that, or lose your information in the process
identity
as well.
Yeah. So not great news. I feel bad for everyone who has to now repay their loans. It sucks, but such is life, right?
You got to be smart.
Got to be smart.
Yep.
If you have questions, I always recommend reaching out to Don and crew at the BBB. They can help you kind of decipher sift through some of the crap, if you will, right? If you're getting a bunch of this stuff.
We have, I've been flipping my paper over here. We just put a release out about this on Wednesday, so you can go find that at bbb.org. And if you have any questions, call me at 217-209-3972.
There you go. Good luck repaying. Godspeed, right?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And hopefully next time, maybe one of these times you can come with like something that's an
nice
awesome scam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm always still so dreary on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
It's better to be prepared and aware.
Yes.
But it is one of those things where it just never ceases to amaze me how many new and exciting.
They're always out there scheming.
Gosh, it's just so annoying. But anyway, stay aware. And if you have any questions, reach out to Don O'Brien at the BBB. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. All right, I think that does it for today's Daily. We'll catch you back here tomorrow for Club.